What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be listing my knockout of the year for boxing in 2022. And I know I'm very late on posting this video, but I just wanted to get my opinion across and talk about some of my favorite knockouts of the year. So just to get straight into the video, I'm going to be listing, or as most of you guys know, if you've been following my channel, I do post monthly highlights of what I think is the month's best knockout or best fight. In this case, I'm talking about the best knockout. So I'm just going to be going through my picks or my nominees for the best fights of the year or the best knockouts of the year by going through each month and what I picked for the best knockout. So first off, in January, I picked knockout of the month for Luis Ortiz and Charles Martin, with Luis Ortiz stopped Martin in the 6th round. Martin got wobbled back pretty badly, got dropped and finished off later on in the 6th round. It was a very entertaining fight, but there wasn't really much else in the month of January as well. But then my pick for knockout of the month in February was Zaur Abdullayev knocking out Jorge Linares in the final round. He dropped Linares, battered him, bit in that 12th round, and ultimately got the job done with the referee waving it off. It was a pretty good end to the fight as well. And then my pick for knockout of the month in March. This one is extremely underrated. I mean, extremely underrated when you talk about underrated knockouts. It's when Christian Mbili knocked out Najib Mohammadi, putting him out like a cartoon, hitting him with one hook, and Mohammadi's body went stiff, and he fell flat in his back, stiff as a board. Brutal knockout. And then my knockout of the month for April was when Tyson Fury knocked out Dillian White with that massive uppercut, putting him flat in his back. Dillian White got up, but was not able to continue, so I gave that knockout to him. And then my knockout of the month for May, I gave it to Jenny Beck Alim Connolly, knocking out. I can't even remember the guy's name that he fought. It's when he did knock out that British fighter. I can't really remember his name. If I'm going to be 100% honest, he wasn't that good of a fighter. It's Danny Dignam. Now it's coming to me. He knocked out Danny Dignam earlier on in the fight. He got him with a big uppercut, got him flat in his back. Danny Dignam was just no match for Jenny Beck Alim Connolly. But my knockout of the month, really in May, would have been Jermell Charlo knocking out Brian Castano, but Showtime copyrighted the highlights a few months after I did post them, so I had to repost another highlight. But I mean, for May, I would say that the best knockouts was Jenny Beck knocking out Dignam, and Jermell Charlo knocking out Brian Castano in the rematch. Then my knockout of the month for June, and this was one of the best of the year, is when Kenichi Ogawa got brutally flattened when he was defending his title against Joe Cordina. Then my knockout of the month for July was a pretty underrated one. It's when Zolani Tete knocked out Jason Cunningham with a very big shot earlier on in the fight. I believe it was in the 4th round. He caught him with a big, I believe it was a right hand, if I remember, and I believe it was supposed to be a pretty entertaining, pretty close fight, and Zolani Tete just shut him out with a big shot early in the fight. Then for August, my knockout of the month was Callum Smith brutally finishing Mateo Baderlic, hitting him with a brutal counter hook, making him crash down to the canvas flat in his back. Definitely one of my favorites of the year. Then for September, my pick for knockout of the month was Joe Joyce knocking out Joseph Parker. He caught Parker with a massive left hook, got him flat in his back. Parker tried to get up, couldn't beat the count of 10. And then my pick for knockout of the month in October, this was definitely one of the best of the year. It was Caleb Plant knocking out Anthony Durrell with a brutal hook, putting him out cold. I was there in the arena for that fight. I was next to Durrell's family, so it was kind of sad, but it was a brutal knockout when I saw it happen. But also another pick for October, which was also one of the best of the year, was Deontay Wilder knocking out Robert Helenius with one punch in the main event. That was also one of the best of the year. Then for knockout of the month of November, I gave it to Regis Prograis knocking out Jose Zepeda with a massive left hand in the 11th round of their world title fight. Then for December, lastly, I gave it to Terrence Crawford, knocking out David Avanesian with a big counter hook, putting him out. It was a pretty big win, or a pretty big knockout for Terrence Crawford, I guess you could say. So just to narrow it down to my five favorite knockouts of the year, it would be Callum Smith knocking out Mateo Bauderlique with a big hook, putting him out cold. Another one of my picks would be Christian and Billy knocking out Najee Mohammadi, putting him stiff, flat in his back, as you can see from the picture top right. Another one of my favorite knockouts was Robert Helenius and Deontay Wilder, where Wilder put him out in round 1 with one shot, flat in his back. Obviously, another one, very similar end, with Konichi Agawa ending flat in his back from a big right hand, or from a big straight from Joe Cordina. And then lastly, one of my favorites was Caleb Plant knocking out Anthony Dirrell with a brutal counter hook, putting him flat in his back. So just to even narrow it down more to my final pick for knockout of the year, just to talk about the ones I'm not picking as my official knockout of the year. First, to talk about the Callum Smith fight against Mateo Bauderlique. It was a beautiful knockout, like I said. Counter hook. Callum Smith put Bauderlique on his back. But, I mean, Bauderlique wasn't really that high level going to the fight. That's why I kind of didn't really pick it. It wasn't really like it was such an even fight, and then one man got knocked out. Callum Smith was levels ahead of Bauderlique, finished him with a big shot. But it was for a WBC final eliminator, to the fight's credit as a whole. Then another fight to talk about would be the Robert Helenius and Deontay Wilder fight. Most people were picking Deontay Wilder by knockout, but it was a brutal knockout in and of itself, so I just had to talk about it on here. But obviously most people were picking Deontay Wilder to come back and knock out Helenius brutally, because Helenius sort of does come forward with that style, leaving that European style with his gloves high up, kind of leaving his chin open, and Wilder caught him with a good shot. So obviously those two fights weren't really evenly matched. And another one to talk about that wasn't really the most, even fight was definitely Christian and Billy against Najee Mohammadi. I mean, for the knockout itself, it's definitely runner-up in my opinion. But, I mean, Najee Mohammadi was basically a journeyman veteran going into the fight, but the knockout was so brutal. Reminded me of, if you guys ever played the game Fight Night Champion, where guys get knocked out and they land flat on their back, stiff as a board. I mean, he was a brutal knockout for Christian and Billy. And then another one to talk about. This one definitely makes it up there for when it comes to like how even a fight is, because Joe Cordina and Kenichi Ogawa, the odds were like neck and neck. Cordina was the challenger, brutally knocked out Kenichi Ogawa, but just because I think that the Caleb Plant fight, had trash talk in it. It was just a one-punch, unexpected knockout. I had to put it over the Joe Cordina knockout. Even though it obviously was a much more even fight, much more high-profile world title fight, the Caleb Plant fight obviously had much more eyes on it, being that there was such beef between the two. It packed the Barclays Center. There was a lot of people screaming in the crowd for the fight. It was a really, really good knockout from Caleb Plant, and that was my pick. And that's my pick for knockout of the year in 2022. Caleb Plant launched Anthony Dirrell with that big shot, and that's one of the reasons why I picked it. Even though the knockout itself was masterful, it was a beautiful knockout with Dirrell just out cold on his back with one punch. The unexpectedness of it, I don't even know if that's a word, but the unexpectedness of it was just really what made it, because none of us really thought Caleb Plant would be able to knock out Dirrell with one punch, and he did. And just the nature of it, the beef after the fight, they were still talking. Caleb Plant with his celebration, grave digging. So yeah, I had to give it to the Caleb Plant knockout. So overall, my official 5 best knockouts of the year are the Callum Smith knockout of Mateo Bauderlique, the Deontay Wilder knockout of Robert Helenius, the Joe Cordina knockout of Kenichi Ogawa, and the Christian and Billy knockout of Najee Mohammadi. but my official 2022 Knockout of the Year pick is Caleb Plant viciously knocking out Anthony Durrell in their WBC Eliminator bout. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.